So any doubt you people have regarding spermatogenesis or the structure of sperm, the structure of testes, anything what we have done yesterday? Anyone is having any doubt? Anyone is having any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. So
No,
then
sir.
we'll proceed ahead, and you'll be getting this notes from the management, right? I've already forwarded them today. So they may be giving you today or tomorrow. Fine. So now regarding testes and seminiferous tubule structure of your structure of your Leydig cells, functions of Leydig cells, I think everything is clear. Okay. Now the next part of the reproductive system in males comprises of secondary reproductive organs. Now the secondary reproductive organs basically comprises of can be divided into three parts: accessory ducts, accessory glands, and external genitalia. So the seminiferous tubules will form sperms. As it forms sperms, we have seen yesterday that seminiferous tubule is a highly coiled structure, right? This seminiferous tubule, towards the end, it forms a straight tubule. This straight tubule, we call it as tubuli recti. Okay, this tubuli recti connects to a very anatomically strong structure, or which is made up of various types of cuboidal epithelium. So if we talk about the reproductive organs is mainly made up of epithelial tissues, what we call it as cuboidal epithelial tissues. Okay, especially the testes and the ovaries. And the end of seminiferous tubule, which is a straight tubule, is called as tubuli recti. Many of such tubuli recti from various seminiferous tubules join to form another structure called as retitestes. Okay. Now from each retitestes there arises various, it can be between 15 to 20 tubules. Such 15 to 20 tubules are called as vasa efferentia or ductuli efferentus. It is also this particular vas efferentia or ductuli efferentus, it is also called as vas efferens. Okay. So three names: vasa efferentia, vas efferens, or your particular ductuli efferentus. So I'm repeating once again. Inside testes, we have compartments called as testicular lobules. There are near about 250 compartments. Each testicular lobules have about 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules are basically responsible for formation of sperms. Between seminiferous tubules, we have Leydig cells or interstitial cells, which are responsible to form testosterone. And next is your seminiferous tubule releases sperm through a tubule called as tubuli recti. This tubuli recti is the straight end of seminiferous tubule. Tubuli recti joins to form rete testes. From rete testes, there arises 15 to 20 tubules called as vasa efferentia. This vasa efferentia then joins to epididymis. So epididymis has basically three parts. Epididymis has three parts. Which are the three parts of epididymis? We have head, we have body, and tail. The head part of epididymis is connected to vasa efferentia. So sperm enters epididymis through vasa efferentia. First of all, let us see what is the function of epididymis. Epididymis is basically responsible for storage of sperm. And this when the sperms are stored in epididymis, they attain maturity or motility. We have seen yesterday that if the sperm do not have proper structure, at least 60% of the sperm should have proper structure, and at least 40% of them should have motility. If this structure or motility is not maintained in sperm, they will become what? The person will be infertile. Okay. So the sperm gains motility or maturity mainly in epididymis. So it is responsible for motility and maturity of sperm. So it is a place where temporary sperms are stored temporarily. If sperms are not stored temporarily in epididymis, it will lead to a condition called as azoospermia. Non-motile sperm, and it will lead to infertility. Okay. Now, for board epididymis, if you remember, that is sufficient. For competitive exam, epididymis can be divided into three parts. Head is also called as caput. The part of epididymis which receives sperm from testes, it is called as caput or head. Body is called as corpus. Okay, here the sperms get stored, while tail is called as cauda. This part is responsible for sending the sperm out of epididymis. So let us see the structure of epididymis. This part, the pinkish part, is your testes. On top of testes, you can see a white color structure. This white color structure is called as epididymis. Okay, the curved part of epididymis at the top is called as caput, which is the head, and the bottom part is called as, yes, you can see your particular epididymis here. This lower part, which connects to the tube above, this part which connect to the tube above, it is called as tail of epididymis. You can see towards the right hand side, from the one, some red color structure is coming out and going up. So the part from where the red color structure is coming out is called as cauda or tail epididymis. Okay. Till here, anyone is having doubt regarding epididymis? Anyone is having doubt? Okay. So the epididymis connects to vasa deferentia or vas deferens or ductus deferentus. This big tube can you all see vas deferens, the big tube, that highly coiled tube that moves from epididymis to the upper abdominal region? It is called as vas deferens. This vas deferens carries the sperm away from epididymis towards a common opening called as urethra. Okay, the central part is called as urethra. You can see on the left hand side third labeling, while on left hand side first labeling is vas deferens. Okay, once the sperm enters into vas deferens, they will be ejected out from the body. They will be released out. So until and unless the sperm enters into vas deferens, they will not be released out through the penis. Okay. So what can be done in certain males? The vas deferens is cut out like this. This cutting down of vas deferens, we call it as vasectomy. So what do you mean by vasectomy? Vas means vas deferens and tomy means surgery. So basically, through surgical method, we cut the vas deferens. When the vas deferens is cut, sperm is not transported towards the penis. As sperm is not transported towards the penis, the semen in vasectomy, semen will be without sperm. Only fluid will be present. And if sperm is not there, egg cannot develop into the baby. So vasectomy is a type of temporary sterilization technique. We also call it as contraceptive methods. So what do you mean by sterilization? Sterilization is a method of contraceptive. So what is contraceptive? Contraceptive is basically the method used to prevent pregnancies. So they are basically used to control unwanted pregnancies or control the number of progeny for a couple. There are various such methods of contraceptives. One such method of contraceptive is called a sterilization technique, where we basically use surgical methods to remove various structures of reproductive system and prevent the pregnancy from happening. Now, this sterilization method are basically of two types, temporary and permanent. temporary sterilization techniques are those techniques which are reversible. If a person wants in future to attain or enter the cycle of fertility, it can be done. Okay. While permanent method of sterilization is a technique where a person cannot enter into the reproductive cycle. Fine. So with respect to male, the temporary sterilization technique is called as vasectomy. Okay. Here we cut the vas deferens and seal the ligated part. Since we are cutting down vas deferens, sperm are not transported from epididymis to your urethra or ejaculatory duct, and hence semen will not have presence of sperms. The permanent method of sterilization in males we call it as castration. What is castration? It is surgical removal of testes. Okay, so we basically remove testes there. If testes are not there, there will be no sperms present. And since there are no sperms present, automatically the person will not be able to reproduce. Okay. This method of castration is allowed only in certain cases. What are the cases? First one is testicular cancer. Cancer of testes. Okay. Or a severe infection of testes which can lead to death of a person. So in that case, we carry out removal of testes. Why such removal of testes is not done in normal cases? If we remove the testes, apart from the sperm production, the main event that will get affected will be the production of hormone testosterone. And testosterone is mainly responsible for the development of secondary sexual characters in males. Also, testosterone makes an organism highly aggressive. So if we remove testosterone, the hormonal regulation of the body gets destroyed. Right? Everyone? Until here, anyone is having doubt? Anyone with doubt here? So you have studied thymus gland in 11th standard. What is the function of thymus gland? What is the function of thymus gland? Forgotten in lockdown? Or that memory is also quarantine? Okay. Thymus gland is also called as, yes. Okay. So thymus gland is basically a gland that is responsible for development of immunity in our body. Thymus gland is also called as a suicidal endocrine gland of the body. It is also called as a temporary endocrine gland of the body. Why is it so? At puberty, when the process of sperm and ovum production starts in humans, that stage is called as puberty, where the secondary sexual character starts developing. This sex hormones basically carries out destruction of thymus gland slowly. So as the age progresses, the thymus gland reduces in size. And as the thymus gland reduces in size, the immunity of a person starts becoming weak. So over the period of time, the person becomes weakly immune. That is why in old age, generally the person can get disease easily. So this is the reason why we call, since the thymus gland gets reduced in size or get destroyed over the period of time, it is called as temporary endocrine gland or a suicidal endocrine gland. Fine. And why does it happen? Due to the hormones. Now, one question is asked by the student that why testicular cancer is caused. What is the reason of testicular cancer? So the reason for testicular cancer is basically due to either radiations, UV radiations that causes up, or it can be due to the infections of various viruses. Such viruses which causes cancer, we call them as oncovirus. Viruses responsible to cause cancer is called as oncovirus. Fine. And we have oncogenes also. They are genes that can cause cancer. So on chromosome number 22 of males, on chromosome number 22 of humans, there are certain genes called as oncogenes which are present. These genes get activated due to mutations, the change in genetic material. And this activation of oncogenes basically leads to development of cancer. So testicular cancer can happen due to mutations, it can happen due to activation of oncogenes, or it can happen due to activation of or due to infection by virus causing cancers. We will study such viruses. One such virus is HPV, human papilloma virus. Yes, please raise your hand. Harpita. You wanted to tell anything, Harpita? So this question was asked by Mateen. Mateen, is it fine now?
Sir.
Okay. So any doubt till vas deferens for anyone? Now let us see the structure again. This vas deferens connect to a structure called joins with the first accessory gland that is called as seminal vesicle. So can you see the seminal vesicle, the second one on the right hand side? The pink color, flower color structure. This seminal vesicle is present between the urinary bladder and the rectum. And this seminal vesicle is the main accessory gland which produces your seminal fluid. So which are the accessory glands if we talk about? The first accessory gland is seminal vesicle. It forms 70% of the fluid of semen. Okay. Since majority of the semen fluid comes from seminal vesicle, the fluid of semen is also called as seminal fluid. Okay. The seminal vesicle, what are the composition of seminal vesicle? The main component of seminal vesicle is fructose. Apart from water, it is fructose. Fructose is the main source of energy. If you remember yesterday, I have told that the middle piece of sperm is called as powerhouse of sperm, because there the mitochondria are arranged in spiral manner. Near about 25 to 30 mitochondria are present. This mitochondria, in order to produce energy, requires certain source. Majority of our cells utilizes glucose as the source of energy, but sperm utilizes fructose as the source of energy. Okay. So the first composition of seminal vesicle is fructose, which is the main source of energy for sperms. The next source of the next component of seminal fluid is various enzymes. The main enzyme which forms a part of your accessory gland are vitamin C. Vitamin C is basically your natural antioxidant. It is a natural antioxidant. And what does this natural antioxidant do? It basically prevents your sperm from getting damaged. You have studied in chemistry about free radicals. Free radicals are having odd pair of electrons and they are highly reactive species. Such free radicals can also be generated in our body during the various metabolic reactions. And since they are highly reactive, they can cause damage to the cells. So the cells dies off. Wrinkles that develops on the face or the skin are actually nothing but the accumulated dead cells. So what does we do? This free radicals can be prevented in our body by taking up large amount of vitamin C. Vitamin C is one of the natural antioxidant. Apart from vitamin C, the other natural antioxidant is vitamin E. If vitamin E deficiency is there in humans, it will, in males, it will lead to infertility. So vitamin E protects the reproductive organs from getting damaged. Absence of vitamin E leads to infertility or sterility, inability to reproduce. Okay. Next, apart from that, we have prostaglandins. Prostaglandins also helps in protection of sperm and activation of sperm in the female reproductive tract. Okay. So this is, apart from that, there is presence of calcium enzymes. If you remember, sorry, calcium ions. If you remember yesterday, I have told that the tail and from distal centriole that develops axial filaments, or what we call it as axoneme. These axial filaments or axoneme, in order to carry out the movement, requires the presence of calcium ions. And this calcium ions and this calcium ions are basically required for the motility of sperms. So if calcium ions are not there, or if fructose is not there, sperm cannot move. This condition will also lead to infertility or sterility, what we call it as azoospermia. Okay. So one question is asked by Siriha, that what is the condition if vitamin E is absent? What is the medical condition called as? So in general we call it as infertility. The medical infertility is a medical condition only where an organism is not able to reproduce. Okay, there is no specific term available for this. Fine, is it clear now? Sirisha, is it clear now? Okay, next. So now if you see the structure, the seminal vesicle fuses with vas deferens. When seminal vesicle fuses with vas deferens, it is called as ejaculatory duct. Can you see the ejaculatory duct, seminal vesicle on the left hand side, ejaculatory duct, the third part on the left hand side. So this ejaculatory duct is formed by fusion of vas deferens duct with ducts of seminal vesicle. Okay. Now, this particular ejaculatory duct is surrounded by, it receives signal from prostate gland, the fourth one on the left hand side. This prostate gland is present just below urinary bladder. Prostate gland is present below urinary bladder and it is your second accessory gland. Now, it produces the second largest amount of seminal fluid. Okay, so it is present just below the urinary bladder and basically it produces the second largest amount of seminal fluid. Now if we talk about the prostate gland basically releases fluid which is alkaline in nature. So majority of this fluid comprises of bicarbonate ions and other bases which makes the fluid to be alkaline. Now why this prostate gland is required? This fluid basically serves two specific function. Sperms have more motility in alkaline medium. Because of presence of the prostate fluid, the pH of semen becomes near about between 7 to 8.5. Okay, it is generally between 7 to 8. So this alkaline medium serves in increasing the motility of sperm. This is the first thing. Second thing, the female reproductive tract is acidic in nature. So this alkaline fluid helps in neutralizing the acidic environment of the female reproductive tract and thus helps in preventing the sperm breakdown, what we call it as sperm lysis. Okay. Now, the second structure which can get easily affected, or the other form of cancer, can be seen with respect to prostate. So this prostate cancer can also lead to infertility, because if the prostate fluid is not released, the semen will not be alkaline in nature. And if it is not alkaline in nature, it will automatically affect the functioning of sperm, and the sperm will undergo lysis due to the acidic environment. Now, one question is asked, what are the age categories does testicular cancer affect? Majority of the ages. So testicular cancer generally can occur at any of the stage. Okay. And the factors affecting the development of cancer basically involves mutations or the infections. There are certain diseases which get what we call it as sexually transmitted diseases, can be transferred from mother to baby during pregnancy also. This transfer of chemicals or pathogens from mother to baby's body, sexually transmitted diseases, can happen through placenta. And such chemicals are called as teratogens. Only for your competitive exam, teratogens. So what are teratogens? These are the basic chemicals or pathogens which hamper the healthy development of the baby. During pregnancy, the body of mother and baby are highly connected with each other. So if mother is suffering from any kind of problem, it will cause problem for the development of baby also. If mother is suffering from sexually transmitted disease, such disease can be transferred to baby also. If mother is having infections in the body, chances are that such infections may be transferred to the baby also through placenta. If mother is consuming tobacco or smoking or alcohol, it will also affect the development of the child. So the age category cannot be specifically determined when the cancer will happen. Yes, development of infections become much more when the immunity is low. So cancer has nothing to do with age. Cancer can arise at any point of the lifetime, depending on whether the individual has been exposed to radiations or mutating agents for a longer duration. Okay, Shrikant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any doubts with respect to this till now? Anyone is having? Okay. So prostate cancer can also be caused due to oncovirus, what we have discussed before with respect to testes. Okay. Next part. Below prostate gland, you can see a structure called as bulbourethral gland. Okay. This bulbourethral gland, can you all see on the left hand side, sixth labeling? So bulbourethral gland is present just below the prostate gland. This is your third and final accessory gland in male. Bulbourethral gland is also called as Copper's gland. So what do you mean by bulbourethral? What is the function of bulbourethral gland or Copper's gland? It contributes minimum to seminal fluid. Okay. Now, if we talk about the bulbourethral gland or uh, the some Copper's gland, this bulbourethral gland or Copper's gland releases a fluid which helps in lubrication. So, if sperm is entering inside the vagina during sexual mating, the entry of sperm into the vagina, sorry, the entry of penis into the vagina during sexual mating can be very harmful because of friction. So if you rub your hands now, you will see some heat is getting created. This is due to the friction that arises. So same kind of friction may arise during between penis and vagina during sexual mating. So in order to prevent this friction, if you apply water or any oil in your hand and then rub it, what will happen? The movement of hand over each other can be easily facilitated. The fluid which is released from Copper's gland basically function in the same manner. It it lubricates, or it reduces friction between penis and vagina so that penis can enter easily inside vagina and facilitate the sexual mating. Okay. In females also, we have structure similar to Copper's gland. This structure, which is similar to Copper's gland, is called as Bartholin's gland. This is in females. And it is present surrounding the vagina, on the lateral sides of vagina. Okay. So this gland basically, both these glands basically helps in reducing friction between sperm and ovum. Sorry, between penis and vagina. Any doubts up till now? These are the three accessory glands of males. Any doubt anyone is having? No doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, one question has been asked in competitive exam around 2-3 years back. The accessory gland which is found only in mammals. The accessory gland which is found only in mammals is prostate gland. Okay. So prostate gland is the characteristics of only mammals. It is not found in other organisms or other groups. Now, this prostate gland, seminal gland, and seminal vesicles and the bulbourethral gland releases their secretion into a common tube called as urethra. So all this secretion mixed in urethra in males. So let us see the structure. Can you see the central tube-like structure? See the 8th labeling. The central part, exactly at the center, one tube is there. This tube is called as urethra. Okay. In males, urethra is also called as urinogenital tract because it carries both urine and sperms. Since it can carry both urine and sperm, urethra in males, only in males it is called as urinogenital tract. In females, urethra and vagina are two different openings. Okay, so urinogenital tract is the common term only used for males. Fine. Now, if we talk about urethra, if the urethra is carrying both sperms as well as urine, will it not get mixed? And if it get mixed, urine is already acidic in nature. It is slightly acidic. Will it not affect the sperm motility, or will it not cause infertility? If sperm and urine get mixed, will it affect or not? Will the sperm and urine get mixed anytime? If yes, how? If no, why not? Few of you have already taught this thing. Anurag, Dinesh, Kalyani, tell me your answer. Why the sperm and urine never get mixed? If you talk about the junction, urethra continues from urinary bladder. Now, if the sperm enters into the vas deferens and it is coming towards the urethra, the valves, the sphincter valves which are present in urinary bladder doesn't get stimulation to open up. So basically the presence of valves prevent the mixing of sperm with urine. Okay, because of this reason, either only sperm will be released out or only your urine will be released out. Both cannot be released out at the same time. It is due to the presence of valves present in the urethral tract between the urethra and urinary bladder. So if the sperm are going to be released out, the valves closes the opening between urethra and urinary bladder. If the sperm are not going to release out, then if the urinary bladder is filled, the valves opens up to release the urine. Because of the presence of this valves, there is never mixing of sperm and ovum in males. Sperm and urine in males, sorry. Fine. Now, if we talk about the secondary part, in the secondary organs, we have already discussed accessory ducts. We have already discussed accessory glands. Now, the last part remaining is external genitalia. In males, the external genitalia is called as penis. Okay. So let us see the structure of penis. This is a structure of penis. Surrounding the urethra, there are presence of 3 cylindrical tissues. So penis comprises of 3 cylindrical tissues. These cylindrical tissues are soft in nature. Okay, so and they comprises of large amount of blood vessels. So when a person is not excited, or when the person is not sexually active, during that time, these cylindrical tissues are blocked. They do not allow the movement of your particular, these cylindrical tissues do not get filled with blood. So if the blood do not come into the cylindrical tissue, the penis remains as soft. A soft penis doesn't have the sufficient mechanical strength to enter inside the vagina. Okay. Now, when the males are sexually excited, the blood vessels in the cylindrical tissues opens up. When the blood vessels in the cylindrical tissues opens up, the blood vessels get filled with blood. The movement of the blood into this blood vessels make this tissue little bit rigid. As the tissue starts getting rigid, the penis becomes erect. When it is soft, it is hanging down in the vertical direction. But when it gets filled with blood, it becomes strong and rigid. And as a result, the penis starts getting perpendicular to the body surface. So when the penis starts getting perpendicular, it means that the male is sexually excited now and is ready to undergo sexual mating or copulation with female. Okay, this entire process of gaining rigidity in penis, we call it as erection. Okay. Now, this erection basically arises, as I have told, due to the movement of blood in the blood vessels and the tissues which are surrounding. You can see one white tissue surrounding the penis. This white tissue is called as corpus cavernosa. Only for your competitive exam, we have to consider this. We have corpus cavernosa and corpus spongiosum. These are the two kind of tissues which are present surrounding the penis. Corpus cavernosa are present on the lateral sides and they are generally 2 in number. As you can see here, this white tissue, what we call it as corpus cavernosa, and the largest amount of blood vessels is present in this corpus cavernosa only. Below that, you can see one orange color dotted structure that is called as corpus spongiosum. Down, right hand side down. Okay, this corpus spongiosum is also responsible for maintenance of erection of penis. Now, certain times, what happens is this cylindrical tissues if the cylindrical tissues are partially damaged, then what will happen? The amount of blood that is flowing into the penis will be limited. When the amount of blood flowing, so this will reduce the amount of blood flow. If the amount of blood flow in penis is limited, erection of penis is achieved only for a brief period of time. If the erection is achieved only for a brief period of time, such male can do sexual mating only for a very small period of time. And such a medical condition is called as impotency. In such males, it will lead to premature release of sperms, or maybe the reduced release of sperms. So impotency can also lead to infertility. In basic terms, impotency is basically defined as inability to maintain erection of penis for a longer duration of time. Okay, am I clear with this? Impotency. Now, if the cylindrical tissues are completely damaged, if the cylindrical tissue is completely damaged, penis can never achieve erection. Such males cannot do sexual mating at all. Okay. And this medical condition, we call it as erectile dysfunction. The blockage to the cylindrical tissues can happen due to infection or injury. Okay, any of this can lead to the blockage of the cylindrical tissues. And if any such blockage arises, it will lead to infertility in males. So there are two such cases. One is partial blockage and one is complete blockage. Partial blockage leads to impotency, while the complete blockage leads to erectile dysfunction. Am I clear till now? Penis. So each and every part of your reproductive tract, even though the sperms are formed only in testes, but if any other structure of the reproductive tract is also damaged or is not functioning properly, it can lead to infertility. Since all this structure facilitates reproduction, they are called as accessory reproductive organs or secondary reproductive organs. Fine. Now coming to the last part. This enlarged part of penis, it is generally pink in color, and this enlarged part of penis, we call it as glans penis. It is called as glans penis. You can see on the right hand side, last one. Okay, this glans penis, is covered by skin, which is called as prepuce. Okay. Now what happens if you talk about glans penis? The glans penis have presence of receptor cells. If this glans penis are touched quite a time, the male gets sexually excited. It sends signal to the brain and and as a result, slowly the cylindrical tissue starts opening up. As the cylindrical tissue starts opening up, the blood moves in and the penis get erected. So glans penis has basically the stimulatory function in males. It basically leads to sexual excitement. This leads to sexual excitement in males. Okay. So this is about the male reproductive system, how sperms are getting formed, and how your reproductive system works. Anyone is having doubt in up till here? Okay. So yes, Anu,
Sir, how does inhaling some chemicals lead to infertility?
inhaling some chemicals in the sense, which chemicals you're talking about?
Sir, inhaling chemicals, I don't know. I just heard somewhere.
Okay. Inhaling some, that's what I'm telling. There are certain chemicals which can block your tissues, cylindrical tissues. So when you take those chemicals, it basically prevents in, if we talk about males, I'm talking just about males. When we come to females, that time I'll explain those part also. So these chemicals basically inhibit the blood transport in the penis area. And there are certain chemicals which can lead to infections of the reproductive tract. Fine. So when, and basically if pathogens are present, so if any such chemicals enter the body, they can lead to infertility either due to damage to the reproductive organs, or reducing the amount of blood flow, or it can cause damage to the tissues by development of free radicals. Clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, during sexual mating, if a couple don't want to undergo undergo pregnancy, they just want to enjoy the act of copulation or sexual mating, but they don't want to attain pregnancy, then various structures can be taken into consideration in order to avoid this pregnancy. Such structure I have already told you as contraceptive, and we have already discussed two contraceptive out of it. What are your permanent sterilization and your temporary sterilization technique, right? Apart from that, yes, Ganesh. Ganesh.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
No,
You
sir.
wanted to?
Nothing.
Okay. So if we talk about contraceptive, with respect to males only we will talk. So with respect to male, the contraceptive can be one, natural contraceptive. Natural contraceptive with respect to male is called as coitus withdrawal method, or we also call it as coitus interrupts. So this, it is an actual method of contraception which do not require any support of chemicals or any agents. In this particular method, what, during sexual mating, when the person is going to ejaculate. So what do you mean by ejaculation? Ejaculation is nothing but process of release of sperm outside through penis is called as ejaculation. So when the male is sexually excited to the highest level, the sperm will be transported from vas deferens to the ejaculatory duct to the urethra. And this sperm can be released out through penis. Fine. when the male is going to just release the sperm, penis has to be taken out from vagina so that the sperm is never released in the vagina. The process of release of sperm in vagina is called as insemination. Release of sperm in vagina. It is called as insemination. So just before the sperm are going to be ejaculated out, penis has to be withdrawn out from vagina. So this process of taking out of penis out from vagina, we call it as coitus withdrawal or coitus interrupts. Now, this method is not 100% reliable. Why? Because of the following reason. One, sometimes the male is so much sexually excited that it becomes practically impossible for him to release the penis from the vagina just before ejaculation. Second reason why this particular method is not supportive is because a small amount of sperm is also carried by the secretion of bulbourethral gland. This is the another reason why this method cannot be completely relied on. The third reason why it is not relied, because sometimes it may happen that the sperms are released and the male don't know also. So these are the three reasons why we cannot depend on this method for contraception. So my voice is breaking.
No, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
voice is breaking.
No, sir.
Okay. Fine, I'll repeat this once again. Natural contraceptives. Natural contraceptive is a method which is dependent only on males. Okay. In this method, just before ejaculation, before the sperm is going to be released out, the penis has to be withdrawn from vagina. If the penis are withdrawn from vagina, then in that so how many of you can hear my voice clearly? Please raise your hand. One. Okay. Fine. I'll repeat one more time. If the natural contraceptives, in the natural method of contraception, coitus withdrawal method or coitus interrupts, just before ejaculation is going to be taken place, the penis has to be taken out from vagina. This process of taking out of penis from the vagina is called as coitus withdrawal method or coitus interrupts. Now, this prevent insemination basically. What is insemination? The process of release of sperm in vagina is called as insemination. In order to prevent insemination, this entire Sohan, maybe Sohan, please check your internet once. Okay. Now, why this particular method is not completely reliable? This method is not completely reliable because a small section of sperm is carried by the bulbourethral gland. Second, uh, sometimes the male is so sexually excited that it becomes practically impossible for him to take out the penis before ejaculation. Third time, it may happen sometime that the sperms are released and the male doesn't know it. Okay. So this method requires a lot of practice and it is not 100% reliable. So I've got a question from Sirisha that does a small amount of semen can cause pregnancy? the chances of the a small amount of semen causing pregnancy is very, very less, but still in certain cases it may happen. Okay, chances are less, but it is not that it will completely not happen. So this is one method. The second method, we call it as barrier method. In barrier method, basically it depends on condoms with respect to males. So what is condoms? Condom is a rubbery shape which is used to cover the penis. So what happens here? Just like imagine that you are covering your hand and putting it in water. So what will happen as a covering your hand with a polythene or a rubber and you're inserting your hand. So what will happen since your hand is covered completely, it may happen that you will not feel or there will be no entry of water inside your particular bag area or hand area. So now the condoms does the same thing since they are okay. So condoms, if we talk about, condoms are basically used to cover up the penis. It's a rubbery shape, and these condoms basically prevent insemination. Now, the use of condoms have increased in recent times because they provide protection against sexually transmitted diseases. So many sexually transmitted diseases can be avoided with the use of condoms. So that is why the condoms use have increased in recent times all over the world. Apart from that, condoms, the most popular brand of condom is called as Nirod, which is released by Government of India. Okay, so Government of India has released a brand of condoms which are called as Nirod. This is important for your competitive point of view. The third is a chemical method. The chemical method is called as spermicidals. The spermicidals are the chemicals which are spread in vagina just before sexual mating. As the term states, spermi means sperms and cidal means to kill. So these are the chemicals which can kill sperms. Since they can kill sperms, they are called as spermicidals. Okay. The spermicidals can also be called by the term foams or jellies. And the last part that we have seen with respect to sterilization, the fourth part is vasectomy and castration. Vasectomy is a temporary method while castration is a permanent method. So these are the various methods which can be related to males in order to prevent pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies. Okay. Now, so let us see a summary. Let us see a summary of the entire male reproductive system. So if we see the summary of male reproductive system, we have seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules is the region from where the production of sperm and the reproductive organ starts. This seminiferous tubules send the sperm to tubuli recti. Tibuli recti, it goes to rete testis to vasa efferentia, vasa efferentia to epididymis. Epididymis has three parts: caput, corpus, cauda. So it comes to caput, from caput to corpus, where they are temporarily stored, gain motility. From that, it goes to cauda, cauda to vas deferentia, vas deferentia to ejaculatory duct. In ejaculatory duct, the secretion of seminal vesicles, prostate glands, and your bulbourethral gland starts mixing this ejaculatory duct, then joins with urethra to form urinogenital tract. In the urinogenital tract, there is mixing of all the accessory glands, and this urinogenital tract is covered by uh, corpus cavernosa, corpus spongiosum, which forms the part of penis. Penis is your male external genitalia, which release the sperm outside. So if you remember this pathway is asked couple of times in competitive exams, both CET as well as NEET. And if you remember this pathway, your entire concept regarding your male reproductive system can be linked, that how the sperm goes from one area to another area. Okay, so this pathway, you learn it up, and based on this pathway, approximately 33 to 50% of your chapter is over. And also, we have covered about 20 to 25% of chapter 4 also. So if we talk about if we talk about the reasons for infertility in males, what are the reasons for infertility in males? First, low production of FSH and LH hormones. If FSH is produced in less amount, if FSH is produced in less amount, spermatogenesis cannot take place properly. If LH is produced in less amount, testosterone formation cannot happen properly. Then damage to any of your reproductive organs, impotency, erectile dysfunctions, cancer of testes or your prostate glands or the accessory glands. Any of your accessory glands not working properly. The cylindrical tissues surrounding the penis are damaged. Sperms are not getting stored in epididymis. Number of sperm being less than 20 million, what we call it as oligospermia. Then your particular sperm during maturation do not have specific structures, asthenospermia. Sperm without tail, asthenozoospermia. And a non-motile sperm, azoospermia. Oligospermia, sperm having less than 20 million numbers. Asthenospermia, a round-headed sperm without proper structure due to absence of acrosome or Golgi apparatus has not matured. Asthenozoospermia due to absence of tail. Azoospermia due to the absence of motile sperms or due to presence of non-motile sperms. All this will lead to infertility in males. Okay. Fine, everyone. Up till here. Male reproductive system, is it clear? The medical conditions, cryptorchidism. Another reason for infertility is cryptorchidism. We have done yesterday. Failure of testes to descend into scrotum is called as cryptorchidism. This can also lead to infertility or sterility. Is the entire male reproductive system clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in next class, we will start with a female reproductive system. Anyone is having doubt?
No, sir.
Sure. So shall we end this meeting?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank
Have
you,
a
sir.
good day. Yeah.